So as promised, this time around I want to not use the PAT router. Instead I want to use the Qi router. And let's have a look at that. So over on my web browser, I go here to github.com/go-qi/qi. And when I look at the actual description of this, it seems pretty good. It's a good writer. It's lightweight. It's fast. It's absolutely compatible with the standard library NetHTTP. It seems to be exactly or very useful. And one of the other nice things about this is if you scroll down, you'll see it has some built-in middleware, which we haven't talked about yet, but we're going to in the upcoming lectures. Middleware allows us to process requests as they come in and make decisions about what to do with them. So for example, I might have some pages on my site that I only want logged in users to see. And middleware is a great place to determine whether or not a user has the necessary rights to see that page. So it has a whole bunch of built-in middlewares, and you can see there's all kinds of them listed right here, and you can read those at your leisure. We'll be using some of them in the next few minutes. All right, so how do I install this? Well, this is the same process we use to install PAT. So let's find the install part. There should be go get somewhere on this page. Go get, there it is. Install, go get. So I'm going to copy that, go back to my IDE, open a terminal window, stop my application because I had it running, and I'll clear the screen and simply paste that command in. And it goes and gets it. And again, if we look at our go.mod file, which is right here, it's now imported GoQi. It still has PAT, and we're still using PAT, but we're not going to be in just a moment. So how do I use this? Let me go back to my roots folder, and let me just delete everything in the middle here. I'll just comment it out. All right, so now it says, well, you're not using PAT, you're not using handlers, and we will be in a minute, so don't ignore those errors if you see them. Instead of creating a new mux that is a type of PAT, let me create a mux that is of type qi.newrouter. All right, so it got rid of PAT up here because we're not using it anymore. It's still in our go mod file, which I can show you right here. We don't want that. Now, you could manually delete this, but we're not going to. We'll simply do a much cleaner method. We'll go down to our terminal window and say go mod tidy. Tidy up my mod file. And when I do, it actually gets rid of unused packages. Okay? So you're going to be doing that periodically, and later on I'll show you how to update your dependencies. So you may draw in a third-party package that's updated and has some new features and you want to use the new version, but we'll get to that later on. Right now we're just putting a router in. So I've created my new Qi router, and I have a mux, and I'm returning the mux. Now I want to have these paths matched in our router, the same as we did before. So it's a very similar approach. Mux.get, the pattern is / for home, and I'm just going to go handlers, repo.home. Now that seems like it works pretty well. Okay, let's copy that one and do the one for our about root. Repo.about. Seems to have worked. Let's compile it and see what happens. We'll go run command web main star.go. It compiled. Seems to be running. Let's go to our web browser and open a new window and go to localhost 8080. There's the home page. Perfect. And let's have a look at our about page to make sure that works. About. Very good. That works extremely well. Now, why did I go to all the trouble of changing routers? Well, to start with, it was actually just to show you that it's not that difficult. If you keep things separated from one another and keep things really clean, you can swap out an entire component of your package in just a couple of minutes, which is exactly what we just did. But there are other reasons I want to use this particular router as well. So I'm going to get rid of this commented code, and I'm going to install some middleware. Now, as I said, middleware actually allows you to process a request as it comes into your web application and perform some action on it. Well, let's go back to our web browser and look at the list of middleware, which is way down here somewhere. There it is. Let's look at some of these. Some of these actually seem pretty good. Here's one, Recoverer, gracefully absorbs panics and prints the stack trace. So sometimes, hopefully not very often if you've coded carefully, but sometimes your application will panic. And a panic says, oh no, the world is coming to an end, I am going to die, and your application just dies. What you would want to do instead is say, oh no, something really bad happened, here's some useful information about what went wrong, and now I'm going to recover from that panic. So maybe I want to use this recoverer middleware. Well, how do I do that? Well, it's actually pretty easy. I can just say mux.use middleware, which is one of the things built into Qi, and I want to find the recover. So recoverer. That's it. And I don't want those parentheses. That's it. So when I put that middleware in place, because I've used it before these roots, it's actually available to us. Now, are there any other ones that I want to put in there? Well, at the moment, let's have a look and just make sure. Is there anything else I want to use in those middleware? So let's find them again. Allow content type, basic auth. I don't care about basic auth. I want to use a more secure version of authentication. Compress, that'll be handled by my web server. Don't care about that. Monitoring endpoint. Logger. What's Logger do? Logs the start and end of each request with the elapsed processing time. Nah, that'll be available to me in other ways. Well, for right now, I'm not too worried about the rest of these. This seems to me like it might be okay. So we're going to make some more middleware, and we'll do that in the next lecture. But for right now, this is pretty good. We have this running. So let's stop right now. In the next lecture, we'll look at actually writing our own middleware and using that in here. Because sometimes what you need just doesn't come out of the box with your router. Actually, quite often, it doesn't come out of the box with your router. So we'll write some basic middleware and add those in the next lecture.